Hey there, welcome to the Aquafit Club. In today's video, we're going to look at some clippers. I found some clippers at a tack swap because I really needed to get another pair of clippers. And I found these Osters, and I really like the Osters. And they've been used, and you can tell by taking a look right here at how rusty this blade is that I probably need to do a little bit of cleaning, but I don't really know how to do it. So I'm going to invite my friend, and she is a professional groomer. Her name is Emily Speed. And she's going to join me today, and she's going to take these clippers apart, show me how to clean them, and make recommendations for what I need to do. Because I kind of looked and said, well, Osters make really good clippers. The motor on these clippers are excellent. Okay, now this is a corded pair of clippers. They do make them cordless, but I like the corded ones. And sometimes you can change the different blades in them depending on what you want to do. I'm going to ask her. I know that sometimes you can clean these and sometimes you just need to replace them. So she's going to make some recommendations for me about these clippers that I found because I got a real good price on them. And they were at the tack swap and they were used. These are A5 clippers that Oster makes. So we're going to invite Emily in and she's going to show us and break down exactly how you would take apart a pair of clippers, clean them up, and make recommendations for what you use them for, the type of blades that you need to start off with. So we're going to invite Emily in. Okay, so I got Emily here, and Emily's going to take a look at these clippers. So Emily, tell me what you think about these Oster A5s that I found at the tack swap.
Okay, so first thing we're going to look at is your clipper blades, because that's going to be the main thing that you're going to be able to replace easy as pie. So when you look at them, we're going to pull them off. So you click your button down, which releases your clip, and you pull it back, and then you can slip them right off. So on our clipper blades, these are a really old pair, and so these I would probably go ahead and replace versus trying to fix them up and just start with a better pair. Not that these are throwaways. You could send them off and get them cleaned up, but it's going to take a little more because we just have enough rust on there that it's something I wouldn't feel comfortable doing, even though I know I can help and get some of that off. But just for longevity and ease, they're not that expensive of a blade. And this is just your standard size 10 clipper blade. So it's going to be something you want to have, and you want to have multiple. The next thing we're going to look at on these is you're going to look at your plate that is where your blade sits, and you want to make sure that it's not loose and it's not wiggling around. We can fix it, but see how sturdy those are. You want to be able to have tension there because that's what holds your blade to your body while it's moving. And once we move away from that, we're going to look at the mechanism that holds everything together, that helps release this so you can pull it back and forth. And that, again, is fairly tight and good, and it moves this little piece here. And that also feels really good. So we're okay there right now. And then this piece here is actually what connects your motor to your clipper blade and moves your blade. So you want to make sure that that has some longevity to it. And again, we can buy new pieces to make this work easy as pie. This one still has quite a bit of life to it. So I might want to look into cleaning it up a hair, which is easy enough to do because I personally will go in and clean everything every time I use my clippers, because that's going to help keep your clippers alive for longer and keep your minimum on having to spend money for your replacement parts.
Mm-hmm. Hey Emily, what would I actually use if I wanted to just make sure I clean inside here, so you know how horsehair and stuff like that kind of gets loose and built up in there?
Okay, so my favorite thing is a cheap paintbrush. You can get it at Walmart. I have more packs of these everywhere that are a soft toothbrush, Because what you want to be able to do is I want to get in all those nooks and crannies and just sweep out everything you can. And you can see there's hair coming out. And this is just a very soft paintbrush. And you want to try and knock everything loose and out of there. And that'll help get everything. And that's why I like soft, is because it gets down and in there. And I can really push those bristles in and get that hair and dirt out without doing damage to anything. Because that's what we want to clean without damaging. So that looks pretty good now where we have it cleaned up and everything looks really nice in there. And we'll get that little bit of dirt out as much as we can, because that's just going to help everything stay clean. So now we're going to be able to go in and look at stuff a little more deep. And if we need to, because either any of this is wiggling or anything, your 2 screws right here are what hold this casing on. And so what you want to be able to do is you can replace these screws to either a flathead or a Phillips. I prefer having the flatheads in there. I think they hold up a little better than the Phillips heads. And all you have to do is loosen them up. And when you loosen them up, you'll see we start to really get wiggly. Let's see. This is why I bring more things than I know what I need. There it goes. And you really do want these tight in there when you're messing with them, because that is what holds everything together. And I personally try to make sure I have everything done one side as I do the other, so that I don't have anything go wrong. Let's see. That screw doesn't want to come out.
Now, is it any good to put like a type of oil or lube in there at all? Will that help it, or does that hurt that?
So I wouldn't worry too much putting oil and lube inside this casing, because you want these to hold pretty tight to everything. So this is almost a place that I would want to be kind of dry.
Okay.
Well, that's going nowhere. So we'll take a look at that later. But right now, that one feels good and everything seems to lock in place. So we're really fine with where it is. Get that locked back down so we don't have it wiggling. But see, nothing's moving, which is what you want.
Okay.
So that's your base, big area that you're going to look at first when you're doing anything with your clippers, especially cleaning and replacing parts. This is going to be your first stop, because most of your things you can fix right here. So if we're going in to do a deeper clean, they're really hard to see, but there's 2 screws that hold the bottom of your thing to it, and there's 1 screw there and 1 screw there. And when we can get those out, we can actually pull everything out and make sure everything's clean inside too. So let's see. It's coming. There we go. And you can see as I'm pulling it apart, it's pulling, ooh, we got a lot of hair in there. But this is why we need to make sure we clean things. I got 1 little screw holding on. There we go.
Ooh.
So see how much hair is in there? That's what we want to get clean, because that over the long run is gonna take your clippers from usable to not. So I like to have a bucket or something to use to clean into, because what happens if something falls out or something gets damaged? I would rather be able to look into something that I have so I can make sure that I don't lose anything. Because the best trick I will tell you is make sure whatever comes out that's supposed to be there goes back in. So we're just gonna try and get in there. Again, this is why I like having kind of a paintbrush, because I can get into all those nooks and crannies and get this stuff to come out. And you can use any way possible to get just stuff out. There we go. But your vent holes, you can try and squeeze stuff through there to get stuff out. One side has grates on it to help with airflow, to not have stuff go in. The other side is open. So it's just get in there. But I mean, even with stuff still in, I have a whole lot of dirt and hair and just stuff. But you can easily see that I don't have any screws or pieces of wire or anything metallic that you're gonna go, where did that come from?
Well, this looks like it'll really increase the longevity of these clippers.
It will.
Yeah, matter of fact, by the time you finish cleaning all of that, it'll be like new.
Yep. And that's why I like the A5s, is they seem to be the easiest to take apart to really get clean what you need to get clean. So now you're gonna do the same thing in here, is we're gonna try and push some of that dirt and hair out with that brush and get in there. Because this is still, you're not taking out your motor yet. This is all just stuff that you can do to clean, to help take care of and have longevity in this. Because I'm cleaning the back end of my motor without actually getting to the motor pieces right now. But that looks a whole lot better than what it did. And again, it just, all of that dirt and grime, but there's nothing metallic. So we're still not worried that anything's broken in here. So that's always a good thing. So your next piece of coming off is we can actually take our motor out to get in there to clean even more. It's like, do I have? Trying to make sure you always have what you need. Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get these today because these are plastic. And so if you're not careful, your screwdriver can damage these. But again, you can find replacement pieces for these because these are built to be your workhorse. So you're going to be able to replace all of your parts that you need to replace in here. Let's see if I can get lucky on trying to get this to open.
So these screws that are out here on the side are the ones that would actually release the motor from inside.
Yeah, and you always want to make sure that they're tight, which these are tight in here. So that's your biggest thing, is this is holding your motor in the base of your compartment because your entire motor is sitting right here.
Okay.
That's why when you feel these, the weight is pretty much in the middle of your clippers.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see. Yeah, I don't think I can get those right now without damaging the screws. But we don't need to take that out unless we're having issues. So right now I'll say we'll skip taking that out just because we don't want to damage anything anymore. And with them working, that's fine right now. So the last piece that you can get off of these sometimes is this front plate. And I'm not sure if we'll be able to get through those screws, which that's fine. This piece is really there to help hold that blade on. Let's see. Oh, those are Phillips. So you can see someone replaced some of the parts, but not all of the parts on this one, because your Osters are actually going to start with Phillips head screws. That's just what the factory has put in from what I've seen. There we go. And on any small part like this, I do like to have something so I cannot lose anything. That's one of your big things when you're taking apart clippers, is you want to make sure you have a safe place to keep everything, because you don't want to lose any of these small screws. So that plate pops right off. And again, you can get replacement plates if these break. But again, you just have a little bit of hair in there. And you can just clean right into your bowl. Make sure everything looks good. And everything looks really good there. And this is where you're going to want to put grease to help collect and keep things running. Because this is where the top of your motor goes to your blade. I'll put that in my thing. So you can see that there's grease in here. And that's what you want to keep greased. Your new clippers usually come with a tube of grease. You can buy it. It's not very expensive. You can get other brands. You can get generic stuff as long as it's for motors and things. This whole strike piece is the same piece that I showed earlier that moves your clipper blade. And so you want to make sure there's no cracks and it looks whole. But again, you can replace this if it does decide to break. We're gonna just try and get some of that hair out of there, which this one's harder because there is grease and sticky stuff in there. So you can make sure it's clean as clean can be. Let's see, we'll get a paper towel and try to, you just want to knock off all that extra hair and stuff. And we can always re-grease to make sure that everything is where it needs to be. See, we're pulling out just old hair. And old hair and dirt is your biggest problem with clippers. Okay. So that looks pretty clean now. And all of those parts look really good, but that's the top of your motor and your piece that's going to move everything. So you can see where it rotates there and it moves this side to side. So that's all clean. We'll put a little bit more grease in there. Since we did take some grease out, we're going to put some grease in. And you want to make sure you just kind of keep it where you think parts might be touching other parts and where you're going to get that friction, and you want to keep it going. There we go. And just a little does ya. You don't need a whole lot. So that's just a little bit of clipper oil or clipper grease in there. And then we're going to go ahead and get our plate back. And you can see there's old grease and stuff on that plate. And we can go ahead and clean that off just to give ourselves a fresh base. Knock off some of the gross and old. It's like an oil change in your car. If you're good and you keep doing it, your car will last longer. Same with your clippers. The better care you take, the longer they'll last, and the cheaper it will be to replace anything. So you can see this little thing here lines up with that hole, and it just pressure fits right back on there. And then we're going to get our plastic cover, and it fits right back on. And we'll get our screws. And I like to just get my fingers tightening on them so that I know it's in, so I don't lose them. But I like to get both of them just started before I do anything else. Because sometimes, like right now, it's just fiddly enough that it didn't want to sit. And that's fine, we can fix it. And again, we want to make sure these are in and tight. Because when you start clipping, you'll feel it. There's a lot of motion in your clippers, so you want to make sure that your screws are in as tight as you can so that nothing goes anywhere. So you want to make sure you don't want to put grease or oil in where your screws are, because that grease and oil will help those screws back out while you're clipping. And that can be disastrous because lost screws while you're clipping is never fun. So now that we have all that back together, we can go and put this back together. And so there's 2 screw holes that you can see. And you're gonna try and line everything back up, which is the hard part of all of this, is you have 2 really long screws and you just need to get them lined up. It's like, I think I have 1 lined up. And then you're gonna take your screws and you'll feel them catch. There we go. Because if they don't catch, you're not in the right spot. But you can already see how this is starting to go back down and back together. And you can really feel it. But that's also why I like to rotate from each side, because you can feel everything go back together. And we go in and make sure those are tight. There we go. And the end of your clippers is back on. So now that we've cleaned all your hair out, your clippers should be good to go. One more place that I'll say you should probably double check and clean is your air intake, which you have 1 on each side, and it's just this little slit here. That gets air into your motor to help cool it down. So you always want to make sure this is clean. So we always go in. I usually like to tilt it a bit, and I come down and push in and then try to flick out, because that'll help pull that hair out. And that's again why I like my long bristle on this paintbrush, is because it'll help get in there and get stuff out. So you go push it in and kind of flick it out, because that'll help clear that airway so that your clippers have a longer life. So like I said, we can get replacement parts for most of what you need to fix anything on these clippers. Because I do so much, I do keep spare parts on me. So as you can see, this is a whole new kit to get my clipper blades back onto my clippers. Here's your release plate. This is your thing that holds everything together. There's your motor piece that turns them, and then I have extra screws because I've lost screws. So I like to make sure I have extra just in case. And these are way cheaper than trying to buy a new set of clippers or even a used set. This is maybe not even $10 worth of parts. And with a little bit of just remembering how you take things off and how you put them back on, you can do this yourself.
Thanks, Emily. Well, it certainly looks like I got almost a brand new pair of clippers. I'm so excited. I can't wait to go use these. So if you would like to know a little bit more about anything about clipping, the types of clips that you can do, body clips, trace clips, check out some of our other videos. Emily's in them too. So we'll see you next time. Check out the other videos. Bye.